This is big breaking news. The highest level advisory, a level 4 warning, has been issued by the U.S. State Department for Americans. They are issuing do not travel alerts, and they are warning people, if you travel to these areas, you should leave DNA samples and you should leave a will just in case you disappear, and so you can be identified. This is what the State Department is warning Americans right now. So let's get into all the details here really quick, guys. Please just hit that like and hit that subscribe. I'm posting multiple videos every single day, keeping you guys updated on this big urgent news, and it just helps to get these warnings out. I appreciate that. So this is what's going on right now. A level 4 alert has been issued by the U.S. State Department, which is the highest level travel warning. And this is happening right near McAllen, Texas. All right, they're issuing a level 4, quote, do not travel advisory. And it says here that the State Department, a part of this advisory, the Department of State advises U.S. citizens not to travel to this area and to leave as soon as possible and as soon as it's safe to do so. It says, we advise that you write a will prior to traveling and leave DNA samples in case of a, quote, worst case scenario, the State Department's website reads. All right, so pretty extreme measures. They're saying leave a will and leave DNA samples so you can be identified if you go missing and turn up somewhere. And they're issuing this warning for Tamaulipas, Mexico, which is touching the southernmost tip of Texas, all right? Because right along the border around McAllen, Texas, there has been gunfights. There's been battles between authorities and these groups, these criminal groups that are operating on the border as well, too. And they have even been leaving explosive devices along the roads. It says here that kidnappings are happening. IEDs are being placed, and it says, quote, as a precaution, the U.S. government employees have been ordered to avoid all travel in and around the Reynosa and Rio Bravo areas outside of daylight hours, and to avoid dirt roads in the area as well, too, the consulate wrote in a statement. So they're saying don't even go on dirt roads. This is insane. They're saying don't leave the main roads and do not go anywhere outside of daylight hours. All right, this is what they're warning consulate members as well too that are right across the border in Mexico, which is touching McAllen, Texas. It's right there. And this is concerning for U.S. citizens. This stuff is overflowing into our country. And this is part of the reason why the U.S. military has been deployed by the thousands to the southern border, is to protect against these threats. And I think they are going to be in a more active role very soon as they get their operations set up and the logistics set up that they need to make some moves. It says here that authorities are urging Americans to avoid dirt roads, not to touch any unknown objects near or on the roads, and to plan travel during daylight hours only. It says, additionally, Americans are advised to notify family and friends of their whereabouts, quote, for your safety. All right, so let people know where you're going, text people, call people, leave a trace of where you're going, where you're at, so people know. And it's saying avoid dirt roads, which is crazy because normally dirt roads are honestly a little bit safer because there's no cars on them. You're not really going to crash on a dirt road. Most likely you're driving a little slower. They're normally on the country. Nobody's even around. That's what a dirt road typically is, safer. And now we're being warned that they could be targets because they're out of the city and they're further away from authorities, and people could be targeted easier. All right, so if you are traveling in this area, and especially if you are crossing the border at all, then definitely make sure you can protect yourself. All right, look into the legalities of that, but if you're in the United States and you're in Texas, you most likely have the right to defend yourself and defend your family, defend your property legally and lawfully. Make sure you're doing that, and make sure you have something to protect yourself as well too, so you don't become a victim in any of these situations, right? So let me know what you guys think down below. It says here the State Department's level 4 warning indicates that there is a, quote, greater likelihood of life-threatening risks as well too in the area. We shouldn't have to live like this. Nobody should have to live like this in the US or even in Mexico. I don't want people living like this either, and a lot of people there don't want this either. But it's been allowed to get so out of control because there's a lot of corruption going on. It goes on to say, additionally, the department warns that the U.S. government, quote, may have very limited ability to provide assistance, including during an emergency, to Americans in areas under the highest level advisory. So they're even saying if you're in this area, we might not even be able to save you, right? Pretty grim news. Hopefully they could do something, but I mean, they're literally telling people on the State Department website to, quote, leave DNA samples in case of worst case scenario. That's a quote from the State Department website. And pretty grim, right, to say the least, that you would have to do something like that just to travel. So I don't know if it's worth it right now. Definitely avoid these areas unless you absolutely have to or you live here. Even the authorities in Mexico as well too were putting out alerts and advisories to avoid any type of IED like device that you find on the side of the road, and they were putting out some examples. Some of them were made with very rudimentary objects, right, that can explode. Things like pipes, right? Things like pressure tanks, pressure cookers, and things like propane tanks and bottles and things like that. Those were some of the examples. They were showing pictures of some of the devices that were found. They were improvised, right? That's the IED, improvised, where they're kind of jerry-rigged together, right? And they look dangerous, but they also look kind of just like some trash on the side of the road too, where you could easily mistake it, where somebody's doing a cleanup or somebody's recycling. They see one of these bottles here, right? I'm going to bring it in for recycling, and they touch it and something explodes, right? And now they have to deal with this. So it could look like a whole host of different things. They're giving multiple examples of the different devices that they have found in this area all along the border and along the side of roads as well too. And it could look like everyday objects. All right, that's my point. Is so be careful picking up random things. Avoid any suspicious looking objects that you see on the side of the road or just sitting anywhere, and report them too. If something looks weird, strange, not normal, right? There's no other like trash around or something. It's not like in a trash pile, and it's just this weird object sitting here. Maybe it's got some type of something attached to it, right? Be on the lookout for things like this and report it if you do see it, especially if you're in this area, because they've already found multiple devices as well too. So thank you guys. Please just hit it up for me down there. It helps to get these warnings out so people know what's going on in our country. Make sure you're staying safe and staying prepared, and we could see more of this. Hopefully we don't, but we could see retaliations, things like this increase, right? So hopefully our military can counteract a lot of this and will cut down once they are actively pursuing certain targets. Then I think a lot of people are going to go into hiding, right? So I think a lot of this stuff will slow down once the military is in a more active role instead of just a passive role right now to provide security and support at the border. They are doing some deportation flights as well too, But I think they're going to be moving onto specific targets and specific groups, even specific, all the way down to specific people, and potentially neutralizing them, taking them out in the coming months, right? And once stuff like that happens, I think a lot of people are going to go into hiding. We could see retaliation, but we also could see this cut back as well too, because once you do something like this, they're going to be onto it, right? So thank you guys. I hope you have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.